Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's all about threes today. I think it's always about three. We always do three. What am I talking about? We are here in the cellar at Second Glass for this week's weekly Wine Flights Cellar Chat. And we are talking Pinot Noir, and we're talking three different styles from three different places. So let's get into it. So we're going to start out light to dark as far as color-wise goes. Little Amity Vineyards, they're Eola-Amity, Eola-Amity Hills white Pinot Noir. So pretty straightforward, white wine made from Pinot Noir. And then we're going to jump across the Atlantic, across the states into Germany, and we're going to have a little Spatburgunder Weissherbst, which is a rosé of Pinot Noir, and finishing with, you guessed it, red wine from Presqu'ile back to the west coast of the U.S., to Santa Barbara, doing their red Pinot, which is the more commonly found Pinot Noir. So let's jump into it because, well, what else we got to do? Well, that's why we're here, to jump into it. Taste some wine, talk about it, listen about it. Maybe you just jump on here to see what kind of silly things I do so that you can laugh for 5 minutes and be like, look at this guy. He is so ridiculous. I would do it. So starting out in Oregon with the Amity Vineyards, what has become, I think, quite possibly since the creation of White Zinfandel, which was an accident and just exploded in the 80s and 90s for a sweet, delicious wine that people loved. It was very sugary. I don't like it, but it had a tradition. So since that wine became so infamous, I don't think another wine has become so popular that started with white something in the wine world that wasn't already a white. What do I mean? White Zinfandel made from red grapes. This white Pinot Noir made from Pinot Noir, so a red grape, made as a white wine. Now, traditionally, whenever you say white something, and it's followed by a wine that you would drink, people are like, ooh, I don't like sweet things. But for whatever reason, Amity Vineyards has hit the nail on the head, and for years, this wine has been making the circles, and for obvious reasons, it's delicious. But let's talk a little bit more about why this is really not that revolutionary to be making white Pinot Noir. Now, you're looking at me, you're going, yeah, I've heard of these, I've seen them, it's not a big deal, doesn't sound that interesting, I've only seen them in the last few years. Ooh, that smells great. But there is a long, long history of making white Pinot Noir. It just comes from a place where they don't typically tell you what it is. It's a little place, maybe you've heard of it, it's called Champagne. In Champagne, two of the primary grapes that are used, now there's more than 3 grapes, but 2 of the 3 are red grapes, Pinot Noir and Pinot Meunier. And more often than not, those are made as what they would call Blanc de Noirs. So direct pressed off of the skins, made into a white wine. There is a load of white Pinot Noir that is being produced in Champagne every year. It gets blended into brutes. You typically don't know that it's there because they don't tell you. And most people drink Champagne don't know what's in it. And there's nothing wrong with that. You don't need to know what's in it to know that it's delicious and enjoy it. I don't know where the idea to start making a still white Pinot Noir came from. I don't know who the first was to do it, but I'm pretty certain that it probably stemmed from somebody working with sparkling wine or making sparkling wine and said, hey, we're making this sparkling wine and we do this Blanc de Noir, and this white Pinot Noir is delicious by itself. Maybe we should start making a still wine with this style where we just press it directly off the skins and we make a really fresh, lively, chillable Pinot Noir that is essentially a white wine. It's really the opposite of a rosé, Anyways, let's get into it. That's enough of my little nonsense informational rundown. This has, white raspberries. There it is again. White raspberries, a little bit of underripe strawberries on the nose, a little citrus. Really beautiful texture, great acidity. Tasting this wine as it is, and I don't know if Amity Vineyards makes a Blanc de Noir sparkling wine, But to me, it tastes like a good Blanc de Noir champagne that has gone flat. So like a sparkling Blanc de Noir, Pinot Noir wine that has lost its bubbles. This is what that tastes like, and it's really good. I mean, there's a couple other producers out there that make a style that's like that they make a rosé of Pinot Noir that they call a white Pinot Noir. It's actually a little pink in color. We could argue back and forth all day whether that actually, qualifies as a white Pinot Noir. I'm not here to discuss that. What I am here to discuss is that you can really taste that style that you find in Blanc de Noir sparkling wines in a still white Pinot Noir. You get that texture, the freshness, it's maybe what makes it such a good sparkling wine. It also makes a really great still wine. And although it's not as hot as it has been, it's still super hot outside. So this is kind of hitting the spot right now. All right, moving on. Again, first wine in the lineup this week is Amity Vineyards, their white Pinot Noir from Eola-Amity Hills in Oregon. Now, jumping clear across the United States, across the Atlantic, all the way over to the border of essentially, Eastern Europe. Well, I mean, we're on the western side of Germany. But anyways, I kind of call Germany's kind of like the end as far as you go east in Europe, where the next thing you come to is kind of starting to get into what we'll call Eastern Europe. Hexamer, Weingut Hexamer. This is their Spatburgunder Weissherbst. Now, this wine, as does the Amity Vineyards, these kind of vary in depth of color. Now, for the last few years, this wine has been very, very light in color, almost very similar to the Amity. But this year, it's got more of a rosé tinge, and something I learned while I was just doing a little bit of research before jumping into this is that Weissherbst is just a term in Germany for rosé or blush wines. So you can kind of see, I didn't really show you the white wine in the glass, but just a touch of color. I was not able to find exactly how long they leave this wine on the skins. If I had to guess, maybe a handful of hours, maybe 12 hours. I can't imagine it being much longer than that. Although Pinot Noir is fairly thin-skinned and does not have a lot of color. It would get depth of color pretty quickly if you've ever seen, Cellar rosés or, some other like rosé of Pinot Noir from California. They're much more deeper, like kind of pink salmon rubyish color without being like full-on red. Woo! Wow. So I've had this wine several times in the last few years. It is always a favorite here, as is the Amity. Celeste and William are big fans of these wines. This wine distinctively from previous vintages has a much bigger nose. There's a lot more fruit to this. I mean, it is a great transition from the Amity, which was, again, kind of white raspberry, underripe strawberry, a little bit of citrus, a little bit of mineral. This has far more pronounced, what I'll call kind of orange citrus blossom, a little bit of marmalade, not sweet, but just that tanginess you get in a fresh orange marmalade. It's really pretty on the nose. Wow. There's so much flavor on the palate. I'm going to go out and say this version is probably one of the best I've ever had from them. It's not that the other vintages or the other styles were not good. They were really delicious and fresh, but this has so much mouthfeel, so much flavor going on. I mean, it literally burst onto my palate. It felt like I just bit into a juicy orange that also had flavors of tangerine and ripe strawberries all at the same time. It was a little fruit medley in my mouth. It was incredible. That is absolutely delicious. And such a fun representation of a rosé of Pinot Noir. Oftentimes they tend to be a little bit softer. They're a little fruitier. This leans more on the tangy fruit side, which I think is really fun. That is just straight delicious. Incredible little wine. So again, middle of the lineup, Weingut Hexamer, their Spatburgunder Weissherbst. Yeah, I'm trying to sound German so that it sounds correct. I don't want to offend anybody. I'm sure I did, but it wasn't meant to be that way. Mm-hmm. Wow, that is really, really good. I'm super happy to have that on the flight this week. All right, rounding it out, good old classic red Pinot Noir. This one coming from Santa Barbara County, from a really lovely family and group of people at Presqu'ile Vineyards. You know, they're actually based in Santa Maria, which is a little smaller AVA within the Santa Barbara County region. Most of the fruit for this wine comes from that. And I'm sorry, I failed to say that the first two wines are fermented and aged entirely in stainless steel. So they're both, outside the fact that the Amity is direct pressed off of the skin, so you just get this very delicate color, and that just comes from, you know, maybe a half hour's time on the skins as they're pressing it off, and then the color of the juice. Whereas this, I imagine, is on the skins for, I'm going to guesstimate around 12 hours or so. Could be a little longer, but I don't know exactly. I could not find that information. Both made exactly the same way. Fermented, aged, entirely in stainless steel. Nothing, you know, no weird tricks here. Just straightforward winemaking. And then we're moving into Presqu'ile, which, as you may expect, is a lovely, beautiful kind of garnet ruby color. It's on the lighter side, which I would expect from these guys. Give you a little closer look there. Just a beautiful, beautiful Pinot Noir color. Now, I will say that the Presqu'ile certainly leans on the side of like a lighter, translucent color for Pinot Noir. Pinot Noir, again, can vary, you know, depending on how long you leave it on the skins. And that's really kind of what this is about, is, you know, what the skins give as far as color, texture, and like flavor-wise. Like, obviously, these are not the same wineries. It's very different places. You know, we're going from, you know, cooler, cold winters, very hot summers in Oregon, to kind of a more moderate, cool season year-round in the Nahe in Germany. And then we're going to Presqu'ile, which is actually, strangely enough, overall, I think, a more temperate climate than Oregon. It's a little cooler here year-round. You've got influences from the Bay, a little higher elevation. So, you know, you have a lot of other varying things going into this, but the flight this week is really kind of showcasing the diversity of Pinot Noir and how time periods on the skins can add different flavors and profiles and textures in the mouth that, you know, you would think would come from more than just like how long the skins are in contact. But there's so much flavor and so much happening in the skins of grapes that give it so much, that make the wines that much more interesting. So again, this is Presqu'ile, Santa Barbara County. Mostly it's done in, I believe, fermented in stainless steel and cement, and then aged in neutral oak. So there's not like a heavy oaky presence on the wine. You know, cherries, strawberries, kind of like, I'll call them a little underripe strawberries, kind of tart strawberries. A little bit of herbs, some mushroomy characters, just really gorgeous, very perfumed, kind of pretty, like, we'll call them like red and white flowers. Oh, that is, I think I've said this before. There is a flavor profile and a note in California Pinot Noir, and it doesn't happen all the time. But when it does, it's always like, this is California Pinot Noir. Like, unmistakably, this is California sunshine through the lens of Pinot Noir. I don't know how to describe it, but this has got it. Kind of tart cherries. Again, good little like orange peel, kind of citrus oil characteristics that give a lot of complexity. Nice little herbal notes, just easy drinking, really fresh, and a very chillable style of Pinot Noir. You know, I've said it before, I like most of my red wines with a little bit of chill. The lighter the red, the more chilled I like it. And this is one that you could have just borderline cold, and it would be incredible. Again, let's wrap up here. The lineup this week for the weekly wine flights at Second Glass. I hope you all come out. Remember, it starts tomorrow. That's Wednesday. Goes through the weekend or until they sell out. So get out here soon. Amity Vineyards, They're white Pinot Noir, so all stainless steel, direct press, no time left on the skins. Moving into the Hexamer, the Spatburgunder, Weissherbst, so rosé of Pinot Noir. Probably around 12 hours on the skins, all stainless steel. And wrapping up, Presqu'ile, Pinot Noir, Santa Barbara County. This is probably on the skins for a couple of days, if I had to guess. Mostly, stainless steel and cement and a little bit of neutral oak. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks for coming out and supporting small businesses, enjoying great wine. Be good to your friends, be good to your neighbors. I'll see you all next time.